I do have a question. I've been watching a lot of loping videos lately, and some gear work stuff, and I have a kind of young horse that I haven't done a lot of loping on, and I find sometimes when we're going into the lope, she almost she gets a little flare and she wants to kind of leap into it, and I'm not sure if some of that gear work is what I need. I'm not really sure how to go about addressing that with some of these methods and some of the foundations, what one I'm kind of missing a little bit on there. She wants to almost take a leap into it like she doesn't have enough momentum, and she gets excited. I can't really figure out what it is. It's not all the time. Sometimes it's really bad and sometimes it's not at all.
Okay. Josh, do you want me to start or do you want to go with that?
Go ahead, Kate. You start and I'll answer it.
Okay, I have my 2 minutes on. Okay, it sounds as if I would sort of like to know whether her emotional level is too high or too low. So it sounds like you haven't quite got that, Laura. So if sometimes you think she's maybe excited, sometimes you think she's maybe not got enough impulsion. It sounds actually like possibly different problems, but they're all around the emotional level of the horse. So she's obviously not sort of focused on you. It's a very different problem if she hasn't got enough impulsion or if she's getting really excited and she's leaping into canter. So what I would do is make sure that you're really playing with her emotional level when you're training, and make sure that you can lift it enough to get a nice clean canter transition without her going over the top. And also make sure that you've got enough emotion before you actually press for that. Make sure that she's engaged with you, sort of working in the engagement zone, in that bubble of communication, that she's focused on you. Because it might be sometimes that you're surprising her with that canter transition cue. That might be a reason why horses leap into it. If they're not expecting it, it comes, you know, as an unexpected sort of cue, then they go, whoa, she wants me to canter, and that can lead to that. The other thing, if you don't think she's got enough impulsion, she's not engaged with you either, so she's not emotional enough. The cue comes and she goes, oh yeah, don't know about that. And so that's what I would do. I would really focus on your emotional level. Make sure you've got everything where she's consistent in her posture and her frame and her level of relaxation through transitions, walk, trot, and then add the canter to that. And if it's something still going wrong, then I would suggest that that's maybe to do with maybe you're surprising. That's it for me. 1 second to spare. Over to you, Josh. Whoa.
All right. Is it Laura?
Yeah, Laura.
Yes.
Hi, Laura. There's two things I'd work on with that horse right at the bat. If the horse is lunging into the lope or into the lope departure, then what he's doing is he's pushing through the bridle and into the lope. There's two ways you can do that. One is you can work on his rib cage away from it. So say I want to pick up the right lead, I'm going to work on his diagonals to the left using my right leg. Now the horse softens up to his rib cage, and then release the right leg and let the horse step forward in the lope that way. The biggest thing, next exercise I work on that slows the lope departure down is work on trot extension. Extend the horse out of the trot because it becomes a flat driving gait. As you slow the horse down, it's going to rotate his weight back to his hindquarter. That's going to pick his wind up and then step up in the lope. So make the transition lope slower than the trot. So extend the trot out, slow the trot down. As you slow it down, pick the horse up and have him step up in the lope. Think of the lope as a gait, not a faster speed. Right? So there's times I can make the horse actually lope slower than he walks, or vice versa. So, but in our head, we start thinking, okay, walks this speed, trot this speed, lopes this speed, runs this speed. And really, it's just reality. It's a change of gait. You know, Mike was talking about his gait horses. It's a change of gait. So take the horse, extend him out, slow him down, and actually pick up the lope, but make him pick it up slower than going into the trot. And as you're doing that, it's going to keep the weight back on the hindquarters and make it a lot easier on the transition. And he won't lunge forward to the trot. He's actually going to slow down to the lope departure.
So should I be kind of using that outside horse technique that you talk about? Like I extend out and then I use the outside horse to slow down. And then as I'm using the outside horse, I would kind of release and push into the lope.
No, as you slow him down, hold him. And as you slow him down, just step him up to the lope, but don't let him speed up to the lope.
Okay, so
the outside horse, as he rocks back, you're going to feel him kind of take his hindquarter and push underneath him. Then just have him pick his front end up, step up in the lope. No one will go that way.
Okay.
But don't let him rush into the lope. Don't let him pick up speed to the lope. Use the transition.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Good. Okay.
Hi.
Good. Jan has a hand up. Jan, what's your question?
I was wondering if, can you do that with a Frisian horse? Think of the change of gait as opposed to going faster at trot?
Yes, 100%.
Okay.
Because again, you're going from a 4 beat to a 3 beat to a 2 beat. We in our head automatically think speed, speed, speed. And it's not. You take a Western pleasure horse and he lopes slower than he walks. So it's a change of gait, not speed. But we have to start thinking about it as a gait change, not speed change.
Okay. How do you get it to go into it as a gait change rather than a speed change? I'm sure that's a dumb question, but.
No, it's not at all. What happens is when you're trying to go to the lope, if you take the horse and you trot and you extend him out and you just keep pushing forward, that's speed change and he falls into the lope. Right? Because you're driving, you just keep push, and then he actually falls forward into that lope. But if I extend him out as I slow him down, he's going to rock back. The only difference between the trot and that lope is going to be that the horse rocks back and elevates his front end, step up in the lope. So as he rocks back, he's already in position to step up. If you take the horse and you extend his trot out, then he's going to fall into the lope, which means he's going to pick his butt up and front end's going to go down. But if I bring him back as I'm slowing him down, he's going to rock back, and then I just step up in the lope so I can now hold that gait.
Yeah. And another thing you can do, Jan, in particular, I'm familiar with your Frisian, is to practice that on the long reins and get that really good verbal cue with him to kiss him up into that lope so that he's not trotting faster and faster, so that he really understands that, oh, when she makes that kiss sound, that means canter. And that's what, we do this with these verbal cues that we have to be really clear. Like we cluck for trot on the long reins and the horse gets that, and then you kiss and the horse understands that that means canter. So when you do get on board and the horse hears that verbal cue, he knows that that's canter. And so that will make your job much easier with him.
Okay. Thank you.
You're a little guy.
Don't forget to say G and haw.
He knows that too.
Right, you got to go right and left. G and haw. Nobody's got a hand up. I think a lot of them are bashful.
Okay, I've got a question from Robin then for you, Josh. Horses living out, not stalled. This is definitely not a question for me. Tips for growing long, thick manes and tails.
All right, perfect. The biggest tip, there's lots of things you can do for that. The biggest thing about hair growth is light. So if you put them under fake lights and you run those lights a couple more hours a day, so have them turn off at 8 o'clock and turn on at 5 in the morning, then you're going to trick the coat thinking that it's summer, and he'll actually grow. He'll actually thin out his main coat, but grow his mane and tail. If you take the tail and you bag it and you keep all the light off of it, it grows faster. So the lights will help the horse slick out, but the tail and the mane, the supplements, and I'll talk about that in a minute. But the mane and tail, the biggest thing is when you bag it, put it in a black bag or a dark bag and take light away from it. Because if they can't see it, then he thinks it's winter and he'll actually start growing faster. Now, there's other supplements you can use as far as MTG and different things you can put on to make it grow faster. But the main thing is light. So I always keep the tails in bags, and I'm too cheap to buy bags, so I go to Walmart and I buy black socks. And I cut them and I put them in a black sock. Anything I can do to keep the light off of them.
And the mane you put in those little...
Oh, yeah, I tried that. It didn't work very well.
Oh,
I
really?
thought that'd be kind of fun. Yeah, I know there's a way to do it better, but I went and I bought baby socks. And I put them in the mane, and it didn't work very well. It kept falling out. So what I do with them is I put a black sleazy over them at night.
Good.
I did try the baby socks, but no, just looked funny.
All right, so we have a couple more questions. There's Kelly has her hand. Should we just hear from Kelly?
Hi.
Hi, Sensei.
Hey, Kelly. Kelly, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing good.
Merry Christmas and Happy New Year, everybody.
Hey, Merry Christmas.
So I have two questions, really. One of them, I have a horse that, since it's gotten colder weather, has lost his freaking brain. And it's really ridiculous, because I know that you're laughing because you're saying it has nothing to do with it. But
No, it does. It does.
And so I'm having real difficulties with him, because what happens is his brain is not paying attention to me at all. And within 5 minutes, he's so emotional. He's in like a full body sweat. And I'm having real difficulties trying to get him to focus. And the goal is to be calmer at the end than they are at the beginning. And it just seems like he's just sort of winding himself up and more. And so I need your help.
I did a lesson today with Evelyn here. Same thing. A horse gets hot quick. Yeah, the horse is jumping hot. Winter does matter, because what happens is we feed their digestive system slows down, the protein that you're giving them and the starches, and they just got more energy. So cold does matter. But when you work your horse, and what I was working with her today is, when you go out there, what's your goal? What do you focus on? What are you trying to accomplish? Are we trying to soften the horse up? We're trying to work on the rib cage. We're working on the neck. We're working on gear work. We have to have something specific that we're working on, not just go out there and try to address all the problems at once. So the horse is antsy. He's getting hot. He's nervous. And most of the time, what happens is you have two opinions here. You have your side and his side. Someone's going to move. You're either going to go over and join him, or he's going to come over and join you. But if his emotions become mine, then I'm joining him. And so I got to make sure that I keep my emotions under control. The next part is that make sure that I'm not causing the problem. And what I mean by that is, a lot of times if a horse is just antsy, scared, nervous, or just feeling fresh, I go out there and I'm controlled for 15, 20 minutes. Then I lose my temper and I correct this horse hard with my legs. And then I go back to being nice for 15, 20 minutes. And then what happens is the horse, every time that the horse is anticipating the correction, he's anticipating what I'm going to do, in 15, 20 minutes. So he rides fine 15 minutes, but then I correct hard. And then I try to go back to riding nice. But then what happens is, the whole time, all he's doing is anticipating when I'm going to correct him or what I'm going to do. So it's important that my emotions stay the same, that I don't change or go to that horse. And it's hard to do, because you get frustrated. We're going quiet, nice, and all of a sudden we get frustrated, have to correct the horse, but we correct too hard, and then the horse anticipates us correcting him again for another half hour. So make sure you have a goal in mind. What are you trying to get done? Make sure that I'm not causing the problem. And then I figure out, is the horse being just bad, or is he just simply anticipating the correction, which is making him hotter and more anxious?
Yeah, no, he's just being overly reactive to anything. So somebody walking by, the end of the arena, he's wants to run out. There's snow and ice kind of coming off the roof a little bit, or it's melting, and so and so as he's going by, he's losing his mind. So,
Yeah.
So you tell me, in the summer he didn't. He was quiet in that arena, and now he's hot.
Yep.
So he's hot because he's looking at the snow coming off the roof, or people walking in the building.
Right.
So pick up the speed.
Okay.
If he's got something that if the horse, isn't focused or isn't doing or looking around too much like a dog pointer, and give him more work.
Okay.
Don't give him so much time in between asking something. So if you're going to change directions, pick it up, change directions. Give him 1 second, change directions, 2 seconds, change directions. Give him more to think about. If he's got enough time to be thinking about all the other stuff, then he's got too much time.
Yeah, and I would agree with that. That you don't necessarily want to tire him out emotionally, or physically, but you want to make the exercise more challenging for him. And the hardest thing to do is to get on the horse. We were talking about this in my meeting before, and ride it around the arena, cold, straight lines, straight out of the stable or wherever it's been. It's really hard. It's hard for the horse to focus on that. You need to give the horse something to focus on. So make it mentally more challenging. Put cones out, do something, do an exercise, have a goal, like Josh was saying. What is your goal to get done today? And go out and actually teach that lesson. Because if you just leave it up to the horse to suddenly decide to concentrate on you, it's probably not going to happen. So you really need to be much more proactive and say, right, this is what we're doing. We'll change directions. We're going to work on our shoulder control or hindquarter control or something, and we're going to really do this. But really get him to focus on you, because the horse is under the stimulus control of something else, and you want him to be focused on you in that sort of bubble of communication with you. So he's looking to you to ask what he should be doing next. So we can't stop them from being afraid, but we can really help him to focus on you. So that will help him deal with his fear. So when he does get afraid, he looks to you and says, oh, what does Kelly want me to do now? Rather than, oh my God, that snow falling off the roof is going to kill me. That's me done. Merlin.
Yes. I got one more thing to add to Kelly real quick.
Yeah.
Kelly, you there?
Yep.
You remember that hot and cold exercise?
Yep.
Use the same exercise, hot and cold, but when you're working on the cold side, a lot of inside leg until the horse actually relaxes to the leg, where he stretches and actually bends and takes his nose towards your leg. Then release it, change directions. Pick up the inside rein, break him down, but a lot of inside leg till he actually looks at your leg and calms down. Change directions. Work on hot and cold. Pick the emotions up, bring him back. Pick him up, bring him back.
Cool. Merlin.
Oh, yes. Yes, I just have a couple of questions. I picked up another colt here this fall, and I'd like to maybe do a couple tricks on him before we get riding. He's very young. He's about 7 months old right now. His attention span is good. I'd like to get some use out of that. Is it too soon to start laying him down, start adding some tricks, start adding some thought process to that horse?
No, not at all. In fact, this is the best time to start teaching those. I'd stay away from mouth tricks, but as far as the laying down, the bow, the one-leg bow, the two-leg bow, or the walk up, the hips in, right now is a great time to teach it.
With it, right?
Yeah.
I thought I'd stay away from that rear until he's under saddle also, but
yeah, the rears, it's okay. You can really separate the rear out as far as making it a ground exercise and then making it a riding exercise. So I've had good luck with that as far as saying, okay, I only let that horse rear from the ground, but won't do it from the saddle. And then later down the line when he gets really well trained, then I'll put on the saddle. But I'll just make sure I separate. So, okay, you're allowed to rear, but the cue is this, and it's only on the ground. I'm not allowed to do it from the saddle.
All right, thanks.
You're welcome, buddy.
Yep. And I'm with you, Josh. I think the more you can teach these youngsters, the better. And tricks great, but also you can do the trailer loading, and you can do all sorts of really useful stuff as well. So just fantastic. It's so nice to have a young, untouched horse at that age. Good on you. Yeah.
The drinking the water on cue's phenomenal, because it not only does that, but it does the mark training and does all kinds of things with it.
So how did you, I know you talked about that before, when I've seen you, the drinking the water. I mean, I do bring them water like that, and they tend to drink a little bit, but I can't really force that.
You can, buddy. I can show you how. It's a simple game. What I do is I'll put the bucket's got to be chest high. All right, when I start teaching, it's got to be chest high. So I got to put on a chair or a porta grazer, anything to make it chest high. All right, and I put it on the wall, and I send the horse side to side, and I let him rest the bucket. That's where I start. It honestly doesn't take 20 minutes. As I get him to start resting by the bucket, then I start asking him to go forward again until I see his nose touch the bucket. Then I take him away from it, work him, take him back to the bucket, let him rest. But now, again, he has to make sure now his nose has to touch the water. Then I take him away from it. Pretty soon what happens is the cue becomes the horse has to stick his nose in the bucket. Well, they can't sit there and the horse is funny. If I stick his nose in the dirt and I make him walk circles long enough, he thinks he must have wanted to lay down. Just the thought goes through his head that, well, I must have wanted to lay down. It's only two reasons my horse's head's that low. One is either to lay down, or eat. Well, if I take all the food away, I give the thought that he must want to lay down. He starts laying down. The horse puts his head in that bucket and starts messing with that water. What they do is they start playing with the water. Once they start playing with it, they're going to drink 2 or 3 gulps every time.
They're going to drink.
And take them away from it.
And that lesson's in your training, Josh?
It's in the it's in the mark.
In the mark.
Yeah, I think did we put it? It's in the school, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
I thought it was.
Yeah, it is. It is. Yep.
Yeah, so I definitely will give that a try. I mean, I thought he would be mark trained by spring. I'll just get him going on that as he's progressing here. I just didn't want to throw a bunch of stuff at him that was going to give me grief later.
The drinking on cue is really solid. Only affects that. You use it a lot more than you think. But teach that first, and that'll help him look for the mark. So you'll be able to make the trailer, the tarp, anything else, and he'll actually learn that faster.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
You're welcome, buddy.
Good. There's a question in the chat here from Callie. Why would a horse find it easier to canter than to trot? In other words, is there something that might cause a horse to want to move from trot to canter, no matter how slow he's going? So her horse keeps wanting to canter, doesn't want to trot, and that could be a soundness issue. I would be investigating that first. What about you, Josh?
It's more work to trot. It's an extra step, actually 2 steps. Going from a 3-beat, which is an elevated lope, one side, to extended trot, which is more work for the horse. It's got an extra stride in there. So if I'm trying to build muscle in the horse, I'm going to work on trot extensions. It's going to work both sides, and it's an extra step. More drive. The lope is a 3-beat gait, which is going to switch to one side. It's an elevated lope, so they're going to actually slow down and step up into it, not speed up, step up, and it's actually easier for the horse to lope than it is to take and extend the trot out. So every horse, when you take that horse and you're trying to speed that horse's trot up, you're going to see the horse want to break in the lope. It's really hard to actually teach a true extended trot, then teach a nice slow lope. It's just more work.
Yeah.
And you know that for a fact. If you take a trot, extended trot, and you trot that horse out for 20 minutes, he is soaked in sweat. You take that horse and lope him for 20 minutes, a nice lope, he won't be sweating at all. It's more work.
So assuming it's not a soundness issue, then you really need to do just more work in trot and making it really clear for the horse, what your trot cue is and what your canter cue is, so that the horse isn't getting confused. If you're really clear, then the horse does canter when it hasn't been asked to, bring it back to trot and, then ask it to canter and reward it for doing that, but only when it's asked to do so. So it's not being obedient to your cues, so you need to reinforce your cues because it's not understanding that. if it's making its own decisions about which gait to be in. But I would also be looking at soundness issues. Is it completely 100% sound in trot? Because trot is the movement that we look for soundness in. And if it doesn't want to trot, it might mean that it's uncomfortable.
Sure. The other thing is make sure I use 2 legs to trot, 2 legs to trot extend, 1 leg to lope. So he understands the difference between the cue. Don't get those cues mixed up. Second is when you're doing that trot extension, speed them up, but then slow them back down. Don't keep going till he breaks in the lope. Do 2 or 3 strides, slow them down. 2 or 3 strides, slow them down. So he learns to hold that extension.
Good. Kim and David have a question together.
No, it's just me. But I was looking at your videos today, Josh, and there was a section on elevation, which was a 3-part on the pole, the middle, and the lower part of that. It was really interesting. Actually, I remember doing some of this with you, and it was incredibly hard unless you're actually doing it to get it. But I brought me to my mind, and I make it quick, the scales, the training scales. And I have to ask a question from you guys that are experts on this, and it has driven me insane for years. I included this up here. File I uploaded, if you can look at it. It gives 1 as rhythm, 2 as suppleness, 3 is connection, 4 is impulsion, 5 is straightness, and at the very best of 6 is collection. So my question is, first of all, my question is, these seem to be a little screwed up when I look at them, and they're a little all over the place, but what is your thoughts on them? Please give me your thoughts.
Shall I go first with this one?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. You know what? Has anybody ever been able to quote the pyramid to you without looking at it? Really? Anybody? I mean, honestly, it is something else. The straightness thing, I just love the straightness thing that comes second to last. I mean, honestly, it drives me nuts, this thing. And I look at it and think, well, it's also meaningless as well, isn't it? And if you look at the modern dressage horse, which is what this is written for, the modern dressage horse, well, they don't have any lightness in there. That's interesting. They used to have lightness in there. But, really, Kimmy, I can't, it just doesn't make any sense to me. I'm a dressage rider.
Yes, that's exactly what I was thinking.
And it's a bit like a half halt, isn't it?
Yeah.
Ask 10 people what a half halt is, and they'll give you 10 different answers.
I got that one figured out. The California stop. California stop. You ever driven to California? That's their stop. Half halt.
That's funny.
So yeah. Look, I made my own training pyramid, and it starts with engagement and emotional level. So getting the emotional level of the horse right, getting the horse engaged with you. I then have getting the horse into a soft outline, a frame. I then have controlling the shoulders. I then have controlling the hindquarters, and I then have lateral work. And for me, that encompasses everything, and everything has to start with getting relaxation. I can't see relaxation anywhere on that pyramid. No. So I can't work with it, because if you don't start with the horse relaxed and engaged, then you shouldn't be there. And perhaps that pyramid is why modern dressage looks like it does today.
Like when it has rhythm, how can you have rhythm really without
it? There are words that
I've had lots of rhythm without pole.
They're not, but none of them are quantifiable, are they?
Well, no, the rhythm's pretty good. You ever, when I rode rough stock in rodeo, I always got in rhythm. I didn't have pole or neck, rib cage, or any control.
Yeah.
Are they talking about the horse's rhythm or my rhythm?
Yeah,
It's
but
unbelievable.
most of those things on there will mean one thing to somebody and something to somebody else. I mean, you can't say, has this horse got shoulder control? You can't really measure most of them. Like connection, I love connection, because they're talking about the horse accepting bit pressure. Now, if you look at modern dressage riders, a lot of them are riding with tens of kilograms of pressure on each rein. And so connection is something that is not measurable.
Well, I didn't want to take up too much time.
Maybe
Does Josh want
20
to add
minutes.
to that anywhere?
Well, I already know. I know you. I already know where you're going with that. Yeah. No, I don't like it at all. I don't want to badmouth another trainer or say something about him, but no, I don't like it at all.
Exactly. And it's not really like for one trainer. It's what we put up as the pyramid of horse training. But I just wanted to say that your elevation was interesting, and I liked where it fell in your training process. All right. And when I get down to your place, I got a whole bunch more, because when I was at your place, we had impulsive. We had a horse that was incredibly connected with elevation, and all of a sudden his head came up and he was magnificent. And you said, "There you go, Kimmy." And that would be like 3 months before we were at that. It was amazing, and I'll never forget it. So it's just like watching those videos. Thank you for them today. I really appreciate it. Thanks for answering my question.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Good. Kelly has another question.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. So I just got this big spotted draft horse in for training. She's, I think, 7 years old. And she's a mess, and she's extremely confident in her ability to run people over. And she's reactive to everything. And the lady that owns her lives in New York, so she's not going to be involved in her training at all, even though I really was stressing the importance of it, because when she goes home, she's not going to, she's going to fall right back to what she was doing. But I'm not exactly sure how to fix this, because this horse is big. She's 17 hands. She's, probably 1,300 pounds. And I'm 50 years old now and not as strong as I used to be. So she doesn't have much connection to anything. In leading her, she's now responding to pull, pressure, and softness of the nose. And, I'm very big on ground manners. So she's doing pretty well with that. But as soon as anything happens, like anything, you make a noise, her head goes up and she just is running you over. So I'm not really exactly sure if you have any words of wisdom for me with this.
I'm saying the horse is running you over when you're leading it. So we're looking at ground manners, right?
Yeah.
All right. So again, I don't ever care about why they're doing it or what causes it. I care the fact that they're running me over. Yeah. Any exercise you can do, as far as the Western lesson, anything you can do pushing the horse away, the reverse arc, the diagonal work, the side pass work, any one of those things is going to help teach that horse not to run you over. So the biggest thing I'd be doing is a change of direction. Start off by lunging the horse sideways or around you and change direction, making sure the shoulders change, I don't change. I don't walk over the other side. I make sure the horse crosses over through his front legs, switches sides. You have to run at the horse scaring it to do it. But you make sure that horse makes the change, because that's the start of it, is where I can actually get the horse to stop going one direction and change, but have his front feet cross over and then change directions. Cross over, change directions. You're teaching the horse to move away from you, not bring him to you. And
right.
So using that change direction, that's what you're working on. It's the same, and it's the same thing as a horse developing a pecking order in a herd. The first horse to turn and kick loses, always. He always becomes the lowest in the herd. Now, he might kick the snot of the other horse, and it looks like he won, but he'll be lower in the pecking order. So what you have to do is make that horse change directions and leave you. Change directions and leave you to establish that pecking order. But if I bring him to me and I keep bringing him to me through an inside turn, or I'm thinking go around me and turn inside to me, then what's happening is I'm drawing the horse to me. The more I draw him, pretty soon he's going to be all over me.
Okay.
So I'm going to work on reverse arc. I'm going to work on diagonals, side passing, and change directions, moving away from me. Everything is going to be going away from me. Nothing to me.
Okay.
Until I have that horse. It's the same idea of the round pinning. The reason we start the outside turn is to teach the horse to move away from me before I ever let the horse start coming to me.
Yeah.
So I can find out if that horse is aggressive or how he learns or where his emotional level is. But it's all about changing or moving away from me, not drawing him to me.
Okay.
So make sure all your exercise, especially on the ground, reverse arc circles, diagonals, you can do it with the bridle, without, but everything's away from you.
Okay. Yeah, and I'd add to that, that lesson is in your training under the breaking out the young horse. So you'll find those, that inside turn thing, the lunging the horse around, you'll find that there. And I'd also add to that, Kelly, that it's possible your horse doesn't have a very good foundation of learning at all. So just teaching it that, spot, direction, motivator, reward, to get the horse to start to look for answers, and teaching it about negative reinforcement so that the horse learns, oh, I'm under some pressure. I have to move something somewhere. What is that? I'll do that. And then you release and reward. And so you've already done that a bit with the leading. You said he's coming along quite well with the leading. And so what you said then, when you said that, you said, I put pressure on and I released it when he, walked forward. And think about everything you're doing with him to that level of detail so that it becomes a really good pattern for the horse to follow. So whether you're, picking up his feet or whatever it is you're doing with him, think about the spot on the horse you're moving, the direction you want it to go, what you're using to motivate the horse to do that, and how you're going to reward it. Because it will make it very, very clear for the horse. A lot of times these horses haven't had very good training in the past. They've had effective training, but it hasn't always been perhaps in their best interest. So it hasn't been predictable, and horses love predictability. So the more established you can make your patterns, the easier the horse's life is going to be.
Right. This is my fear. I had a gypsy horse that was in here before, and the horse did great here, and I had other people here riding it. But when it went back to the owner, within 2 weeks, she called me up and said, oh, my horse is doing the same thing. And I know that that's what's going to happen here. This horse, I guess, had already been sent out for 5 months of training, and it's here now for the rest of the winter. So until April. And I think that the woman, although she loves the horse, is going to have an unreasonable expectation that it's going to be like a car when she gets it back. And
that's the thing, isn't it? I mean, that's why we're here, Kelly, to be honest, is because, it doesn't work.
right.
Taking a horse in for training and sending them back out, it's great, but in the long run, it doesn't work because the horses revert to their old behavior. What we need to be doing is making sure that we're training the owners at the same time. I mean, I used
Kelly,
to...
Go ahead, Kate.
I used to spend my entire time just taking a horse in for training and sending them back. And exactly that was happening. And which is when I went to just training the riders, so the owners. And that's what led me to go completely online then as well, because it's really hard for riders and owners to come to me because I live in the middle of nowhere in Australia. So I put all of my training online, and that's really why we're here, is to make people safer and horses happier by educating people. And unfortunately, if the rider or the owner doesn't know how it was learned, then it's very hard for the rider or owner to continue with that.
Right.
So, Kelly, how do you fix that?
How do I fix it?
Yeah, I showed you how to fix it. How do you fix that?
How do I fix the person?
Yep.
Well, I don't really know. I mean, I thought that I had been really clear with her, saying that she needed to be involved in the training. Otherwise, she was going to be reverting right back. And
They're agree with you, they'll talk to you, but when that horse is dropped off,
yeah,
they give me a list of what they want that horse to do. I look at the horse, I evaluate the horse, I decide what I can get done.
yeah,
And I make a list and I make them sign that. When they pick the horse up, I show them that list and I show them the horse. And they go through each of those spots, make sure that that horse leaves that day knowing those spots, whatever they want to accomplish. And then they sign that piece of paper. Then they take the horse home and they mess it up.
okay.
And
Yeah,
they
'cause
call me and they say, hey, Josh, will you come back and fix it? Yep, I'll be glad to. But if you don't make them sign that piece of paper and shows them that the horse is fixed at your place, all that's done.
Yeah.
And they're going to go back and they're going to call you in 2 weeks and say, hey, you didn't do a good job training my horse. He reverted back. No matter how many times you tell them that, they have to learn how to keep it up. So you make them sign that paper, then they will call you and say, hey, I messed the horse up. Can you come back and fix it?
Okay.
Cool. Mike.
Yeah, so I'm guessing. Hey, Josh, how you doing, buddy?
Hey, how you doing, big guy?
Good, good. Hey, I'm guessing on lunging the horse too. When you were up here, the one horse wanted when it was lunging, we never got to that. It was wanting to cut in and come to you. So I'm just guessing at that point, every time it wants to come in, just change directions and speed it up the other way.
Yeah, you can. I try to keep him going first and speed him up as he's going that same direction. That'll help push him back out. If it comes to a problem, then yes, use a change of direction, but definitely put speed in to push him up. All right, so try to keep him going first and just pick up the speed. But because again, if he thinks every time he comes in he has to turn, then he's going to get better at coming in and turning, and he won't be able to keep that horse going. So you can use it, but it's your last resort is the change of direction. Use the speed.
Okay. Jan.
I was wondering if one option for like an owner who gets her horse back and the horse regresses is to send her a couple of videos of the training so that you might pique her curiosity or help her see how the goals are being accomplished. And then that might help to motivate. And then if you send a bill for the videos, that might help too.
Motivate even more.
I like that, Jim. That's good.
Yeah, that's good. The bill's always very motivating.
Felicity has a question.
Oh, good.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning. Night.
Well, good evening to you, Josh. I have a question looking at your breakout for the young horse. I was really interested with your mounting when you're doing both sides, that you were asking the horse to go backwards all the time. And I sat there and I thought, would that end up being, I'm sure it would if I did it, but would it end up being a problem that the horse would think every time you put the foot in the stirrup that they would walk backwards? But then I looked at the next one and obviously that's not what happened. But my question is that just to keep the feet moving rather than having it lock its feet in place? And why would you ask it to go backwards rather than maybe having its head turned to the side, which when I've seen horses start under saddle and 1,000 years ago when I used to do it myself, we'd have their head turned to the side and ask them to go forward in a circle around us. Could you explain the logic behind going backwards as opposed to that, please?
Sure. Yes. Yeah. What problem do people have a lot of time get on their horse? Because the horse won't stand still. Mm-hmm. That's from going forward. And the horse thinks they can go forward every time I go to climb on. So I'm going to stop that right at the bat. But now I'm dealing also with an unbroke horse. My most important cue on that unbroke horse is stop. Right? That's what keeps me safe. Back in the past and different things, when we break these horses out, we'd get on this horse and say, okay, we're just a passenger. We're going to just let you do what you want to do for 30, 60, 90 days. And we're just going to kind of sit on you and you move around and go where you want to go. And we don't care about your head. We don't care about your frame. We don't care about your softness. We just care that you just kind of go. And then after 30, 60, or 90 days, then we start putting the training on and say, okay, well, now I want you to carry your head this way. I want your shoulders to move this way. Your transition needs to be this way. The most important cue you have on the unbroke horse is stop. Because we get on, think about this, people get on the unbroke horse and they do up and down, sack out till they finally can get on this horse. And then the problem they have is the horse won't go. Horse won't go forward, so what do? They kick the horse. So they kick the horse, and now they got too much go. Right now it's a wreck. And so by backing the horse up, I'm teaching the horse, again, that he cannot go through that bit. So I'm preparing for every time I ride that horse that I know that I'm teaching this horse right off the bat that he cannot go through that bridle. Because will that horse be afraid at some point when I'm riding him? Oh, 100%. Will he get mad at some point when I'm riding it? 100%. That bit's going to override that. And it's my job to make sure that that bit overrides that, at least for the first 11 rides. And then I'll start putting the softness and frame and stuff in there. But for 11 rides, I'm going to make sure the horse will not go through that bridle. So the most important part on that unbroke horse isn't go forward. It's that you better stop.
Right. And by going backwards, how is that different than if you've got it like effectively disengaging its hindquarters and its head to the side and walking around in tiny circles around you?
We do that a lot. That's in there a lot too. Moving the hips. You know, moving the hips is forward. It keeps the horse unlocked. Right. The backing up. I don't know what that was. Backing up is more important. Is I'm not, every time I climb on the horse, I'm going to back him up a couple steps, get off, right? The moving the hips is what I'm doing to keep the horse from locking up.
Okay.
Those are two different things. The moving the hips is every time I get down or something, I'm going to move the hips. But when I climb on that saddle, I'm going to back him up 2 steps, climb down. Get halfway up, back up 2 steps, climb down. So the horse is knowing not to take off when I climb on that saddle.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Especially on that. You're welcome.
Thank you. Kate, have you got something to add to that?
No, I know where that question came from. Yeah, and that makes a lot of sense to me. To, you know, if the horse wants to move its feet, get it to take steps backwards, and you know, you get that forward. You teach the go forward long before you get on, so that you don't have to give it a big kick when you do get on. And that should be the easy bit. Yeah, but you'll see also with that the whole series of breakout videos that Josh has in the training there, that the backing up stops quite quickly, doesn't it? Like you don't continue with that. Yeah.
No, it's fast. I just use it to keep it controlled.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Andrea has a question.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
We can now.
Okay.
Hey, good looking horse.
Thank you. I love her. She's a lot of fun. But on the stopping, she will back up using my legs really well. But as soon as I stop, she wants to immediately take a step forward. So do I change a direction or do I back up even more?
All right, that's a good question. If I'm backing that horse up and I release that rein and he takes 1 step forward, he's not backing up very well. He's got anticipating going forward, which makes my back up, the steps get short, choppy, you know, and I got to keep making him back up. So that horse, yes, back up. He starts to walk off, back up again. So think about like a reining slide. If that horse comes in to stop and he stops like this, he's not allowed to walk his front feet forward. He walks his front feet forward, I got 3 stops, and then he ain't stopping anymore. So every time he stops, I want to see his hind feet stand himself up. Basically, so it's a back up. He comes in, he stops, hind feet stand up.
Okay.
What he's doing is he's backing up, but he's anticipating forward.
Yes, she does.
So do the Grand Canyon deal. All right,
Okay.
back up, stop, settle. Move around, make sure if that horse steps forward, back him up again. Settle. And let the horse know for at least 2 weeks. Don't ever let him walk off straight. Right? It's that Grand Canyon effect. If he walks off straight, I fell off that canyon. All right, so back him up, make him settle, then turn 90 degrees, walk off. But don't let him walk off straight for these 2 weeks.
Okay.
Got it.
Explain
Piece of cake.
Can you explain the Grand Canyon thing a bit?
Yeah, the Grand Canyon story is there was a joke behind that. What it was this preacher had to sell this horse. I got to tell you the joke because it's part of the story. You understand it better. Preacher sells this horse, but he trained this horse on verbal cues. The horse would only stop. He said, "Amen," and he'd go forward and he said, "Praise the Lord." That's it. So he had to sell his horse. His old cowboy came by, bought this horse. And this preacher tried to explain to him, say, "Listen, this horse will only stop when you say amen. And he's only going to go when you say praise the Lord." And the cowboy's like, "Oh, I got it. No problem." So one day he's out there and going on his cow drive, and he's going to show his buddies this new horse. So he gets his horse out, and his cow runs off, and he says, "Don't worry, guys, I got it. Let me show you. I got it." So he runs after this cow. He's chasing this cow full throttle. Then he sees this cliff coming up. He starts pulling those reins and screaming, "Ho!" and this horse won't stop. And finally, he remembers what that preacher said. And he says, "Amen." That horse slides right to a stop with his toes at that cliff. Cowboy took his hat off, says, "Praise the Lord." Off the cliff. Point was that when I'm riding that horse, when I'm in that arena, I feel safe because it's controlled. Like riding that trail ride, 3 steps in that arena isn't a big deal. I go to stop the horse and he takes 3 extra steps. It doesn't feel like a big deal. But if I put a Grand Canyon in front of me, those 3 extra steps are a big deal. But when I stop in that arena, I have to picture there's a Grand Canyon there. And when I stop, it means stop. It doesn't mean stop in 3 steps. It means stop now. Right? So as I stop, I get that horse to stop. I do whatever it takes. I make him stop. If I let that horse walk forward, what happens? I fall off that canyon. But once I keep that picture in my head, I get him stopped, and then the horse knows he can't go forward off that. I'll turn and walk off direction. It also teaches the horse how to settle. And that's a big thing is once I stop this horse and I drop that rein, that horse has to learn to settle. Not move, not want to take off, not want to step forward, just wait. There's actually a lot of training involved in that. It's not just that it happens. There's a lot of training to teach the horse how to settle. So it's a good exercise to back up, wait, and move. Bump your legs, move around. Don't let them walk off until you pick up the rein, turn 90, walk off. And that's a Grand Canyon.
That's a good, it's a good lesson for everything, isn't it? I mean, we often dressage horses often break their walk because they're anticipating the canter or they're anticipating what's coming up. Your horse is, breaking its halt or its standstill because it's anticipating walking off. So getting rid of that anticipation is a really good thing to do. And I often tell the dressage riders that have that problem, if they're going to practice their walk, never to practice just going from one end to the other and then going into trot. Always practice the walk 3 times and always do something else after the walk. So it's exactly the same with your problem there. Don't be practicing what you don't want the horse to do. So, don't walk off and wait. And really, when you do start to then think the horse is maintaining the stand, then give him a really clear cue to walk off so that you build that in. So he really starts to wait for your signal to move off.
I have to have it where when I stop the horse, I put the hand down, it doesn't mean move. So you got to be able to move in that saddle, readjust, get settled before that horse takes a step. But if you're afraid to squeeze your legs or do something because he's going to squirt out, then you already know there's a problem there. But here's his easy fix. And you just make sure when he backs up, that his last step, he takes back by himself. He's not leaning forward on you.
Okay. I appreciate it. She's a cutting horse. I'm going to turn her into a reining.
Yeah, she looked nice. Videos you sent me today look nice.
She's very forward. One thing I didn't like, and I guess it's because she's older and that's how she was trained, as soon as you get on, she wants to walk off. She's very, very forward.
Yeah.
So it's a learning curve. We're getting there.
There's problems and inconveniences. That's just an inconvenience, not a problem.
But sure, her temperament seems really mellow. Nothing so far has excited her. Just, okay, I've got a job. Let's go.
Good deal.
So,
Right.
when I get time, I'll bring her down.
All right.
Jan, have you got a question there?
Yeah, two questions. One is my horse Taz, who Kate also knows. Sometimes when I've been riding him earlier, when I would try to stop him, he backs up and backs up and backs up. He never really stops. He just keeps backing up. So for me, when I'm trying to train him to stop, and if he doesn't stop, then backing him up seems the wrong thing to do. And I don't know quite what to do. But the other question I have was, I'll think of it in a minute because it's related to the same. Oh, I know. When you walk off and you want to turn at a 90-degree angle, do you put your legs on first and then open the rein to turn, or can you just open the rein and then put your legs on? Which way?
I just open the rein. I don't put my legs on. I open the rein. He's got to follow the rein. And then
Okay.
Go.
Okay.
So he's going off the rein, not the leg at that time.
Okay.
The other part where the backup can be evasive, where the horse is trying to get out of it and he starts backing up all the time. When that happens, that is a problem. That's where you're going to disengage the hindquarters and make the hip step forward. Don't let him keep backing up if you're not asking him. Right? That it becomes evasive. It's like anything. It's sugar and cream in your coffee. Either one of too much is going to ruin it. So if the horse becomes evasive and he starts backing up, and the only ones that are doing that most of the time are the horses that don't want to move forward or kind of slow, sluggish, don't want to work. So they'll start backing up on you. In that case, like I said, I ain't going to back him up. I'm going to move his hips. If I'm working on a stop and I'm trying to finish a stop, there's only two corrections for a stop. One is that I'm going to take the horse and I'm going to pull him back. Say, hey, you missed it. Stop. That's maybe 2% of the time. The other 98% of the time, I'm going to turn the shoulders because the shoulders are what messed up the stop. All right? Either the shoulders hit hard, they didn't quit, they did something I didn't like. But the stop comes from those shoulders, not the hindquarter, where we thought it came from. It comes from those shoulders. So if he locks his shoulders up, I'm going to break his shoulders loose. So 98% of the time, I'm turning the horse's front end to fix my stop, to teach my stop. The backup is 2%. Is that just they didn't quit at all? They just ran through it.
Yeah. So I'd say, Jan, again, you were coming back to that anticipation thing, perhaps, or he's just got into the habit of backing up, and he is definitely, trying to get out of going forward. So you just treat it as a correction. I didn't ask you to back up, so let's do something else, and then reward him for doing that. So open your rein, get him to turn right or something, and reward him for doing that. And the quicker you pick it up, the quicker he's going to get over that. Because if it, becomes not an easy thing to do, then, that's that will stop him from taking that option. Yeah, but be on it fast. All right. Good. Josh, can you see the chat?
No.
No, okay. Okay, there's just one more question here from Edna. She's got a Haflinger that's fairly emotional around vehicles, and indeed he goes sky high when we try walking out of his paddock. His paddock is too small to do much work, and his unsoundness issue leads to him falling over. I don't want a Haflinger falling on me. So his sideline for unsoundness problem at the moment. Any ideas on how to lower his motion so I can go for a hand walk down the road?
Nope.
It's a real problem, isn't it? I mean,
You got the other problem. The problem is you got the horse is lame.
Yeah.
How do you work a lame horse?
How do you work a lame horse? And it's exactly right. It's really hard. I mean, if you've really got to get him out of the stable and walk, and you need to be safe, and you can probably, given that soundness issue, only go in straight lines, which is also a real hassle. My only advice is make sure you're doing it in a bridle, so at least you have some control. But yeah, that's it.
I mean, you try. It's like, yeah, you can't fix the problem if I can't use the tools to fix the problem.
Yeah.
And if I can't work the horse, I can't work the horse. So if I just need to hand walk the horse and get on another horse and snub it up, walk the horse. But until the horse is sound, there's no exercise you can do to fix that. You know, the only thing I've ever done, which doesn't, no, it just won't work for it. Like I said, I wouldn't even give an exercise if it's not sound. If not sound, don't work.
Especially as it's around vehicles, is very emotional, and she has to walk down the road.
And she says it falls down, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So that sounds more like a neurological issue, whether the horse has EPM or has a neurological issue, which is affecting the hindquarter, which means it's going to be extremely dangerous to work the horse, period. So if he's falling down, it's most likely neurological.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you. I think that is us for this evening. Good. I'm going to get the replay up because I managed to press record and everything.
This is the first time I asked, and you already done
it. So that's good. And otherwise, we will see you next week. But next week we'll do it on
Wednesday.
Yeah. Yeah.
5 or 5:30.
5. Yeah. You okay with 5? Yep. All right. Good. And if you have any questions or can't be here, do send them to us. Both do know that both the Lyons training and the Kandoo Gold training are available at the moment, and registration is going to close reasonably soon. We're going to delay it a little bit because of Christmas, but do go along and have a look at that. I've also on my website got a 30-day video series that people are having a look at. We send you a video every day for the next 30 days about training. So go and have a look at that, and go and have a look at Josh's training, and hopefully we will see you inside both of those places soon.
Definitely.
Thank you.
Thanks for your time.
You're welcome. You guys have fun. We'll see you next week.